Sober on Purpose is the podcast that takes you beyond clean to fulfilling your dreams. Other programs get you sober. We ask what's next. Come thrive with us.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Tanya.
Guess what?
What?
This app I found almost 6 or 9 months ago, and it's been going on for a lot longer, allows you to do your 4th step and your 10th step on your phone.
I know you were letting me play with it yesterday, and I really like it. The only issue that I have with it is it takes away a lot of my excuses from doing the work that I should be doing.
I know. So I had the great fortune. I called up the guy who did this app, and he was so gracious to talk to me. And I've already written the blog post about it, so we'll connect this podcast to it. But his name is David P., and he started this in 2014. The app is now in 35 countries, and he has agreed to be on this podcast with us. So David, would you continue to introduce yourself?
Hi, Tanya and Jerry. How are you?
Very well.
We're good, thanks.
All right, great. So I'm Dave P., and I'm an alcoholic.
Tell us a little bit more about how this app got started and what you went through to get it started.
All right. You got a few hours. So it all started back in the 1980s. When I was blackout drinking and doing a whole bunch of stuff I shouldn't have been doing, and I did a lot of damage in blackouts and just don't remember much. But some of those were some financial things. I'd done some damage, and when it came to my 9th step amends, once I had some sobriety, I got sober in 2009. I asked my sponsor, "How do I make an amends for I was in blackouts and." I don't know what I did. And it's the general people. And he said, God will present something to you, an opportunity for you to make an amends for that. And that was kind of the basis of it. It was like an open amends that God will present something to you to make this amends. And then that's part of story A. Part of story B is once I got up to the 10th step, I had a hard time doing my 10th step and doing a nightly inventory and writing down on paper questions, and I just could never really get into it. And someone suggested to me that he said, "Hey, you have an iPhone. You have your phone every night. There's an app called the Nightly Inventory app. Just download it. It makes it so super easy to do your inventory at night to clean out your day and everything." And I was like, "What a brilliant idea!" I downloaded it. And I immediately fell in love with it. And every night before I go to sleep, I'd answer these simple 10 questions right out of the big book. And it's an amazing, easy solution in today's, technology day. You always have your phone with you, and it would always be the last thing I did right before I went to bed. And I'd ask myself the questions and think about my day. And it would help me change the next day, because one of the questions was did you reach out to another alcoholic or something like that? And so I would, and I just thought I don't want to answer no to that question tonight. So it actually worked on changing my behavior, in a sober way. I thought this is amazing. So I'd recommend it to people at meetings and sponsees, and maybe a year or two after that, someone came back to me and said, "Dave, that app's not there anymore." And I said, "What?" So it was a free app, and so I went, and sure enough, whoever had been making it stopped, and I didn't know to. Years later, when I kind of got into this, you actually have to pay for free apps. If you're the developer, you have to pay to keep it updated and keep it on iTunes and Google Play, and there's expenses. And when you have free stuff, how do you pay for that? It's a nice thing to do for people, but for whatever reason, I don't know, but this developer didn't renew and was no longer available. And all of a sudden, the two things kind of hit. The 1980s, breaking into stuff I shouldn't have been breaking into, and owing these kind of an amends to people as a whole. I said, you know what? Why don't I take some of my own money? I'm going to make a 10-step app. It helped me out. It helped a lot of people out. I'm going to be that last guy who did it for me. I'm going to pass this on to the next guy. And it was just an idea that got bolted into my head. And I've never done anything with apps. I have no technology background. But I just doors just kept on opening, and I Googled, how do you make an app? And I found a freelancer in Israel, a programmer. I gave him kind of an outline. And basically, I took the same questions that were on the one that I had, gave it to him. I gave him the format. He started working on it for a while. And then he got tied up in another project. I had to get another programmer. I got one in Pakistan. And so, there's a third programmer from India. It took like 6 months and a lot of finagling, but bottom line is it all kind of came together and it got out there on iTunes and then Android. And I love it that, I'm some guy in New Jersey, and, there's a guy in Israel, a guy in Pakistan, a guy in India, somehow all combined together. We made this thing work, got it out there. And that was the first app. It was 2014. And it's been, that's been downloaded. It took off like wildfire. I thought there'd be like, 100 people. There's not, AAers, we're like 2 million worldwide. There's not many of us. I was amazed that.
It's so awesome that it went international from the beginning and that you hired all these people from all over the place. And you had no computer background. Is that correct?
None whatsoever. It was all just kind of Google and God. Google and God kind of put this together between the two of them. They're a great combo. So, I found this.
No, you go ahead, sir. You go ahead. I apologize.
So I found this website called Fiverr.com, freelancers from all over the world, and I found some guy that was the Israeli. He was like willing to make apps for cheap, and that's how I finally got into that. And then I learned that there's other things. There's a group called Upwork, which is freelancers from all over the world. Programmers in the U.S. charge $70 to $100 an hour to like make apps. These guys over in Pakistan and India, they're charging $15. So it makes a guy like me with a budget of $1.69 able to do something, do something like this and so on. But I had no idea what I was doing. I was just winging the whole freaking thing and like praying, and it's pretty quick. There was people emailing me from England, from Australia, from Zimbabwe, from China, like, thank you, thank you. This is amazing. And that just started a fire.
It is truly an amazing app. Now, you told us that there is another language it's translated into, and it's one you would not expect. What is the language that it is translated into?
So it's translated into Russian.
Actually, I would suspect that. If you knew any Russians, I would suspect
they're all a bunch of alcoholics. It has the highest I'm told it has either the highest alcoholism rate in the world. Now, granted, Russia's like 80 countries. It's not just one place anymore. So I'm sure it varies between that. But a Russian friend of mine told me, the word vodka really means water. Like you're just drinking water. It's like you're kind of born and raised with it and so on. But that didn't happen till after the 10 step came out and it kind of flourished and everything. A bunch of people came up to me and said, "Hey, wouldn't it be great in today's tech-savvy thing that you guys made a 4-step app?" And people would email me, and I said, "I don't know, man. That's a lot different than a 10-step. You're answering 10 yes or no questions. It's very simple. 4-step, it's like that sounds much more complicated." And but the idea got put in my head, and it turned out it was to do all the things that it needed to do. It would cost a lot more money than what I had in my bank account anymore. And so I started a GoFundMe and raised like $2,700 in 2 weeks. And that was enough to get the programmers to do it. All people in AA just giving back and saying, a lot of people knew the success of the 10-step and said, this is a great idea. Now, people say, I have new sponsees that don't even know how to write. They stopped teaching handwriting script in the 3rd grade now. When we were kids, you always taught you how to write and everything, but they do everything on their apps. And they said, you know what, this might be a good way for someone who's procrastinating or something. They always have their phone with them. There's like a safe on it where you have to dial in a passcode to get in. No one can access it. You're standing waiting for the bus for 5 minutes. Oh yeah, resentment against this one or whatever it was, and writing all that down.
The bus being late.
Against the bus.
Against the bus being late. so it was. And I had my 4-step. My ex-wife in a divorce found it and was going to use it in court. For the child custody. They proof that I was not a fit human being to have custody of my daughter. And like the fear of like so having this locked in the phone, password or fingerprint protected was like a big, like, yeah, that's a great idea. So let's protect. There's very sensitive information in there. Right? Let's protect this stuff.
Well, and the thing that I liked was, so I handwrote mine. You handwrote yours. Did you type yours or handwrite?
No, I didn't, and my fear was the same as his. Was
we were struggling.
My best friend's an attorney, and he said, like, look, anything that you put down in writing is admissible in court.
But the other thing about your app is that if you need to share it with your sponsor, I believe it can be printed, right?
Yeah, well, it allows you to email it out as a PDF file. So PDF locks all the information so it can't be hacked. Like it's the safest way to send any kind of information is PDF. So it saves it on your phone as a PDF file, and it allows you to email it out to your sponsor or yourself. Obviously, when you're emailing it, you can open it up on a computer and print it out from the computer. So you can do it for your fifth step. And it has it in the spreadsheet, just like in the big book. It's almost like the Joe and Charlie ones, where it's 4 columns across. Where am I to blame? You know, and we didn't tell people how to do their 4-step. Everything is copied word for word from the big book or the 12 and 12. We didn't give them any instructions. And if I get a complaint about the app, like from iTunes or something, it's, hey, there's no instructions. You know, the instructions are call your sponsor and use a big book. You know, use these pages. You know?
Don't do it by yourself.
Right. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to do their 4-step. So it's just use the big book, call your sponsor kind of thing. And so that wound up, and that we did in Android and iOS, and just like the 10-step app, it went worldwide. And between the two of them, they've been downloaded over 120,000 times in 35 countries. It's like, there's only 2 million of us. It's like 5% of A's around the world have downloaded one of these two. It's incredible. From these little remote places, I never even imagined, like South America and China and like all over, even these non-English speaking countries. But you figure they got to be English speaking because they're all in English, except for the Russian. So in 2016. I had a woman contact me from Moscow, and she was like a district level AA in Moscow, and her name was Anna, and she said, I love your 4-step, I use your 10-step every night, so do all my friends in the program, but the problem is most Russians outside of Moscow don't speak English. You know, it's regular country folk. You know, they know Russian, and we have so much alcoholism here, we'd be willing to give you translators to translate your apps into Russian for the Russian AAs. I was like, yeah. Sure.
Oh my goodness.
So it's in Cyrillic?
So it's in Cyrillic script. It's not even in our standard English alphabet. They translated it into Cyrillic script at no cost to you and no cost to the app. They did it themselves.
Right. Well, I had to fundraise for that. Actually, I didn't fundraise for that, but that one I paid out of pocket because it wasn't that much to translate it because all the code was there. It was, but it took 6 months. So Anna was in Moscow, I was in New Jersey on the East Coast. The programmers for this one were in India. So we're 3 completely different time zones. It would be 9 o'clock at night for me. It would be 3 o'clock in the morning for her. It would be like 4 in the afternoon for him. And that was a challenge, wasn't it? How do you do this? Like 3 parts of the world doing it. So obviously a lot of it was in writing and emails and everything like that. But it took us 6 months of 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls and to finally get it all done and up, and that's it. So in 2016, those apps became available in Russian, thanks to Anna, and we were able to help out with that. And it was such a great experience. Like, I'm just, an alcoholic from New Jersey that used to hang out in his basement and like play video games, and like, how is this people in Russia like now like benefiting from my alcoholism, my getting sober? Like, how does all this shit work? Like, it's crazy. Like
all these good things that can come from doing your 12-step work and doing your amends. And like you said, Google and God.
God.
That's fabulous. And then you have a couple other apps running, and you have a great family story about how you developed one of your first sobriety first app. How is that called?
It's called Early Sobriety Companion. Basically, what happened was my daughter, me and her mom divorced, and her mom was like 40 minutes away, so I'd be driving her back and forth to her mom all the time. So we were in the car a lot together when she was little, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and she'd always hear me talking to sponsees, on Bluetooth on the phone all the time. I get lots of sponsees, and she'd be like, Dad, you keep on telling these guys the same thing every time. Why don't you just make another app? Make an app where they can just pull the app, and get their answers. And there should be a pray button, and there should be a call your sponsor button, and there should be a make a gratitude list button. And so she's going through it because she's heard me say this so many times to these sponsees, and so she kind of outlined the basis of the app. So go to a meeting, hit your knees, and so. That was the basis of it, a big sponsor button, so that you open up the app and it's like a 3-inch button on there. It's just sponsor. You just hit it, like immediate speed dial to your sponsor. So that was the initial idea of it. What came from her. And what happened was, because now I was learning that it's great making a free app, but there's this upkeep cost every year. It's more or less like $1,000, $1,500. You have to start an LLC to have on iTunes and basically my financial amends was done. So how do I kind of keep this thing going instead of letting it collapse like the last guy it wound up happening? So I said, we have to be self-supporting. Well, how do we be self-supporting? Is we have to make some paid apps. So we made this one was a paid app. It's called Early Sobriety Companion. It teaches new people that are just kind of dabbling in AA or thinking about AA, all the lingo, what meetings are, the different types, just kind of gives them the outline. And then has the things like a sobriety counter and things like it has the first up to how it works. It has Joe and Charlie tapes on it. All the steps are by Joe and Charlie. And it has these checklists. So did you do your morning prayers, gratitude list? Did you call your sponsor? Did you do your network calls? Did you make a meeting? Did you do your evening prayer? So there's a checklist for every day. Just real simple, basic stuff. And and we only did that in iPhone. We didn't do it in Android. And so that
hurts.
I know.
He left me and went from iPhone to Android, which is just really sad. And then you created a really fun one. Tell us about the fun one you created.
That is my absolute favorite. It's called AA Trivia Whack, and it's we call it our entertainment division. Really, it's about getting money to actually pay for these free apps, these free step apps. And so it's like 300 questions about AA history, about meetings, and it's set up like I'll put it on for a sec so you can actually hear it. Hold on. It says, what magazines named Bill as one of the most influential figures of the 20th century? Field and Stream, the Saturday Evening Post, Time and Life, the National Enquirer.
Oh, the National Enquirer.
It was Time and Life, right?
It was Time and Life.
I win.
Right up there with Stalin and Hitler.
Wait, I know. But the timer's going. I feel really pressured here. The 12 steps are listed at the beginning of Chapter 5 in a section entitled, A, our steps are awesome. B, stepping stones to recovery. C, how it works. B, Bill's story.
Awesome.
How it works. There's clapping in the background. So what you do is you get all these points and everything, and then you get to be like they have all these fun names. Sure, I can get to it.
And these apps only, what do they run? $4.99, something like that. They're not expensive. They're a cup of coffee, right?
Right. So the Early Sobriety one is $2.99. The actually, I think they're both $2.99.
That's not bad at all.
You're right. It's nothing, and it helps us out tremendously. The reviews on all these apps. Let me get the Early Sobriety Companion one.
And then
there we go.
But just to be clear, the 4th step app is free. Is that right?
4th step is free. All the step apps are free, and then the last one that we haven't mentioned is the very new one that just came out 2-3 weeks ago, and that's the 8/9 step Amends app. So that's literally just hit the market. It's free like the rest. We did another GoFundMe for that, $3,000 a month to raise that. That's in Android and in iOS, and we're still working out the bugs. I was emailing the programmers in India this morning about something with the Android version, and so it usually takes 3 months to work out the bugs. Touch ID, but it's very, very simple. We love it. And we hope that it helps out people, making their lists and then tracking their amends and so on. That's a lot of these comments on. If you go to like 12-step apps, like people leave comments and everything. about how much it's have helped them basically do their steps. And it's just it's one more tool in your kit. It's like it's not the kit, it's one more tool.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, David.
And then so for $3,000 for the 8th and 9th step app, which got raised really quickly, how many people do you expect to reach? I mean, it's like pennies.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, because it just got put out there, I don't know. All I can tell you is we've had 120,000 downloads from the 10th and the 4th step. And combined, they were probably like $5,000. Like it costs kind of out of pocket.
So let's
to reach all those people.
Let's go through the list of the apps and what
and
they're
then
called.
Where we can see. I found you on a desktop computer. How? Yeah, tell us the list of the apps and then exactly how we would find them both on laptop and on the iPhone.
And somebody of our age, like maybe what button to push, whether it be Google Play.
Somebody who's not a millennial, who doesn't know all this stuff right off the top of their head. How do we find you?
All right, so that'd be the easiest way is if you have an iPhone, you go to the iTunes and you just type in AA apps, and there's so many apps out there. Like by no means am I saying ours is the best or anything like that, and just see what works best for you. It's just
okay. We'll see. We'll do that for you.
So how do we pick you over? David? How do we pick the apps you've created over all the other ones? What are they? All right. So go to AA apps.
All right. Well, you go to 12. I mean, the company is called 12stepapps.org. So they can go to the website 12stepapps.org. So one word, it's the number 12. 12 stepapps with an S.org. And that tells them all about the apps. And there's buttons on every page available at App Store, available on Google Play, depending on whether they have Android or iOS. There's a summary of each app. We make 5 apps, a little summary about each app. And on each app's page is a link directly to download that specific app in whatever version you have,
so
iPhone
you can go to the website, find the app that you're interested in, or all of them, and then just click on one button, whether it be iOS or Android, and it'll take you.
App Store take you right there, so you can download it. And once you have one downloaded, it'll say other apps by this manufacturer, by this developer. And what you can do is you'll see the other apps that are available. Once you have one, it's very easy to see the other ones.
I'm going to go download the 4th step app right now because I'm going to have to go through mine again because I built a resentment that you don't have all of these in Android.
Android.
And he might get there. You never know. So, and then what are your plans? I know you just did 8 and 9. Do you put out the request for GoFundMe? Because I just tipped in a little bit and suddenly the money was there. Do you put out a request? I know you sent me an email. Do you have an email list that you keep for people that have really enjoyed this and they want to give back? Is there a donation button? How does that work?
No, we've kept it very simple. And I believe all this stuff that Bill writes about with money and spiritual principles just don't mix. And it's been, when we did the 4-step app, I got like a team of like AAers from 2 different communities to kind of work to put this thing together. We fought and we screamed, and someone wanted this, someone wanted that, and then we did group conscious, right? We brought God into it, saying, all right, what should we do? And one of the guys was saying, why don't we just charge like $3 for this? And, we can make like $300,000 and use that for good. And and then you think about it, like, yeah, we could. Right? We could make a lot. We could. I can use that money in the name of God, of course. And it gets scary. And so we voted that down. We're keeping it very close to the vest when it comes to kind of the money stuff with the step apps.
No, that's awesome.
So we have it's basically, I have a lot of friends and I've been doing this a while. So I just throw out an email to them, and the word spreads through word of mouth, just like regular AA. There's no advertising or anything like that. It's just kind of, hey, I know this guy who's doing this. Give him a call. Maybe you can help him out. I know you got a financial amends. And it raises real quick. But thank you very much for that offer. But no, so because I had your email address from this is probably why I reached out to you about the apps. There's a lot of people that emailed me over the years, like, hey, great job. This is amazing. You've helped me out so much. I'm like, all right, now, hey. So I send them an email to the link to the GoFundMe, but I don't reach out to strangers or anything like that. It's, It's because it really is kind of.
Maybe talk a little bit about the seventh tradition and why you're so focused on that.
Well, it's and I mean, think what the seventh tradition is that's the basket donations that we're self-supporting. It's I want to keep this thing going, but it's obviously it costs money to do it. So I need people to get the AA trivia whack, not just to have fun, because so many of the reviews are about like, this is so amazing, we're laughing our butts off. Like it's because it's set up like a game show almost. There was an app back in 2015 called Trivia Whack. It was very, very popular, and that's what we based it on, the same kind of game music and people clapping, and you win these awards like Sponsor Monster, and it's a fun thing. And you learn so much about AA history and everything like that, because every one you get wrong, it shows you the right answer, and then it throws that in the recycle pack. So you get to actually try that one again to actually learn it.
So it goes back in the box, so it comes back up again.
That's right. So it's good for learning and everything, and it's a lot of people that have been doing this a while, like not newcomers, but a while, like really love it. Like this is amazing, and they laugh so much, and they've passed it on. But we just basically more people that contribute that way. That's really donating to us. So you're getting entertainment, obviously, but it's helping us keep this alive. There's been times where I've had $200 in like the business account of this whole thing. Forget about 35 countries, 100,000 downloads. Like there's no money; it's for free, right? So and I got to pay off the programmers, the constant updates every time iOS updates or Android updates, and there's bugs and whatever it is. That's really it. But I got to tell you, like this whole God thing, like it just kind of worked. It's like I've gotten to the point where, like I said, it's been down to like $200. But it's never like lost. Besides the initial money, not lost, but money I paid for the initial apps myself. It just finds a way to kind of evens out. It's there's something there's that that the invisible hand of God just kind of holding this thing. I'm certainly not doing it. I'll tell you that. It's there's obviously something else out there that's helping make this whole thing work for a reason. It's unbelievable. A screw up like me could have any kind of effect with someone in Russia or Mongolia, or like it's crazy. This and how many people have got involved to make this happen.
So the best way to support you, the best way to support this, is we want to see more of these things happening, because you've got more step apps to make, is to buy the AA Trivia Whack, and then give me the name of the other one again.
Early Sobriety Companion.
Early Sobriety Companion.
But the AA Trivia Whack is the real, like, that's so much fun, and it's
right.
Yeah, just so you could just go to iTunes and do Trivia AA Trivia Whack. And I'm sorry, Jerry, it's not an Android.
Hey, you're killing me.
So, David, we have had such a
4 steps.
I'll play it on Tanya's phone.
That's right. He'll just use my phone. We've had such a good time talking to you. Just before we got on with you, we were talking about positivity and our favorite AA Al-Anon slogans. Do you have one that you like the best?
Oh, God.
I've stumped you.
That's not one. I'm not aware of that one.
Let It Go is probably.
Good one.
Let It Go.
We didn't say that one. That's perfect.
That's perfect. So, David, we really want to thank you for doing all this work, for really stepping in and saying, "Hey, I'm going to actually practice what I am sitting in rooms and learning." And it has just been so much fun to talk to you.
And it really sounds like and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but it really sounds like to get this far with these apps, you had to let go and let God.
Absolutely. And Google. No, I had to hold on to Google. No.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to plaster that all over everything. God and Google.
They work together. Yeah.
So good to talk to you, David.
You too, Tanya. You too, Jerry. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right.
You, beloved listener, are creative, resourceful, and whole. Do you want to add more purpose to your sober journey? Do you want to make room for the new and make your dreams a reality? Apply today for a dream session. Go to TanyaGioia.com. That's TanyaGioia.com and apply today. Let's get you dreaming about your new purpose.